Feeling low willpower and wasting time procrastinating can be a frustrating and discouraging experience. It can feel like you're stuck in a cycle of inaction and that you'll never be able to achieve your goals. But it's important to remember that everyone struggles with willpower and motivation at times. It's okay to take a break and recharge your batteries when you need to, and when you're ready, you can start taking small steps towards your goals. Remember that progress is not always linear, and setbacks are a natural part of the process. Be kind to yourself and keep moving forward. Dopamine is referred to as the molecule of addiction. Dopamine's evolutionary purpose is to motivate you to do things that increase your chance of survival and passing on your genes. It drives you to pursue potential rewards. Research has shown that highly motivated people have higher dopamine levels, and that low levels of dopamine are associated with a lack of motivation, ADHD, and anhedonia. This topic is obviously closely related to motivation. As an admittedly overly simplistic, reductionistic explanation of an extremely complex process, dopamine-spiking activities, gambling, porn, junk food, etc., actually lead to the desensitization and downregulation, decrease in sensitivity and number, of dopamine receptors, especially those that keep dopamine levels elevated persistently, such as cocaine use. Continuing on that extreme example, this is why in the case of regular drug use, even caffeine, increasingly higher dosages are needed to achieve the same effect. Receptors become sensitized to that stimulus, and you build up a tolerance. Furthermore, we know that low dopamine levels are associated with these addictive behaviors, essentially chasing the dopamine high. If you're reading this post, you're probably someone who has perhaps previously engaged in those types of behaviors that have beaten down your dopamine receptors over time. Some people are also simply born with fewer dopamine D2 receptors. In 1990, Bloom et al. Noted a genetic connection between a specific allele of the dopamine D2 receptor gene, DRD2, and the susceptibility to develop alcoholism, 6. Building on that research, they found that people with this specific gene polymorphism were more likely to have dysfunction of the mesolimbic reward system, yielding a hypodopaminergic state that makes them predisposed to addiction, compulsivity, and impulsivity of behavior. This condition became known as reward deficiency syndrome, or RDS7. Later research discovered that carriers of this gene have on average 30–40% fewer dopamine D2 receptors, and that these carriers make up approximately 1/3 of the U.S. population. 8. The addiction model appears to be the same for the aforementioned activities as it is for drug use. That is, behavioral addictions share many of the same mechanisms and alterations in brain chemistry as chemical addictions. 9. Rats prefer sugar to cocaine. 10. Overeating to obesity leads to the same changes in the brain as drug addiction. When rats are given unlimited access to food, they indulge to obesity. 11. The dopaminergic system is more powerful than the opioid system. The want and desire for pleasure can be more powerful than the pleasure received. This is a subtle but important distinction. Continually engaging in these addictive behaviors also hardens their cues and cravings and partially scrambles the prefrontal cortex, leading to impaired impulse control. This makes it easier to return to that junk food, video game, etc. over and over again in the future. I would argue that modern society lends itself to more of these dopamine-spiking activities, with some of them being specifically designed to be addictive. Junk food, social media, video games, binging TV shows, high-speed internet usage, etc. So much so that we see supernormal responses to some of these things by the dopaminergic and opioid systems. A massive amount of research in recent years suggests that these things are directly contributing to the significant increases in diagnoses of anxiety, depression, ADD, and ADHD across all age groups 14 to 21. The evolution of our monkey brains simply can't keep up with the advancement of technology. Thankfully, the growth in the understanding of these neuroscientific concepts has led to people consciously choosing to avoid doing these activities so often, and seeking ways to mitigate the aforementioned effects in order to repair or fix their dopamine receptors that have been abused over time. We've seen the emergence of groups like NoFap, in which millions of fapstronauts across the globe are swearing off the dopamine-spiking activities of porn, masturbation, and/or orgasm, PMO, for a period of time. There are specific support groups on Reddit dedicated to helping people quit their addictions to video games, gambling, smoking, and more. In this post, we'll examine methods, practices, and supplements to repair dopamine receptors naturally and help fix the mesolimbic pleasure pathway, or at the very least help accelerate that process. Note, however, that there's no magic bullet. The most important part of the healing process is still simply avoiding the addictive behavior or dopamine-spiking activity. Whenever possible, I'm aiming for Doublewood, Jarrow, Nutricost, and Now Foods as vendors of choice for the supplements below. They all have a proven track record of providing the highest quality research-backed ingredients with analytical testing. For a while now, these brands have been the antidote to the issues that have plagued the supplement industry and given it a bad reputation. Label inaccuracy, questionable purity and safety, and lack of efficacy. In short, make sure you're buying from a trusted seller and make sure you know what you're getting. Okay, to learn all the methods on how to improve the density and to stop downregulation of the dopamine receptors, read the description and click the article. Please like, comment, and subscribe because this video took me hours to make, and you might like some of my future videos, which you might only see recommended if you do subscribe. Okay, be blessed. Hit me up if you want a life coach to help you progress in your life and achieve more of your goals. Email me on samalmar@yahoo.co.uk.